Good evening, friends. Welcome to my third video blog. I should be reporting to you what is happening in my own life. As you may be aware, the first half of the budget session of the parliament is now over. It started on 31st January and it went on up to 9th of February. And now there is a gap of about 1 month. And on 9th of March, there would be the second half of the budget session. During the first half of the budget session, I raised two very important issues which I would like to highlight for your information. First one is about the post-matric scholarships for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe boys and girls. You may not be aware, but over the last 3 years, all the states of India put together have not released something like 9 to 10,000 crore of rupees of scholarships for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe boys and girls. This is a very serious issue. This is really a grave issue, and all our young boys and girls have not been given scholarships, and that is coming in the way of their education. This is a serious issue on which all of us must raise our voice. On my part, I certainly did. I raised this issue in the parliament and brought it to the notice of everybody that this serious issue needs urgent attention. The second very important issue that I would like to flag your attention to is the issue of abolishment of what is called scheduled caste sub-plan. Way back in 1979, scheduled caste sub-plan was started as a scheme for empowerment of scheduled caste, and this was the scheme where certain amount of money was to be earmarked by the central government as well as by states for the empowerment of scheduled caste. And this amount earmarked had to be at least equal to the share of the scheduled caste population in that state or the share of scheduled caste population at the national level. So this was a very, very good, very useful scheme. True, it was not administered very well, but with a lot of efforts by me and many others, there was improvement in the use and utilization of the scheduled caste sub-plan funds. Earlier, there were many diversions from the scheduled caste sub-plan funds for non-scheduled caste purposes, and that had to be stopped. So while the improvement was being made, this year something really serious seems to have happened. You know, among other things, one of the decisions taken by the government was to abolish the distinction between what was called plan expenditure and non-plan expenditure. But with that abolishment, what has happened is scheduled caste sub-plan seems to have been abolished. Not that provision has not been made. The finance minister has taken credit that for this time, for scheduled caste, the total allocation has been raised to 53,000 crores. And for scheduled tribes, it has been raised to something like 31,000 crores. So there has been a major increase in the allocation according to the finance minister in terms of the allocation for scheduled caste. However, I think this is illusory. It is illusory because the connection between the earmarking of funds with the share of scheduled caste in the population has now been delinked, and this is not a good idea. In fact, going by the principles earlier government in fact had appointed a committee which was called Jadhav Committee. Jadhav Committee had made major recommendations to reform the scheduled caste sub-plan and the whole implementation thereof. And if you follow, in fact, on 23rd August 2016, the Ministry of Finance issued a letter to all the governments, all the departments of the central government, that Jadhav guidelines must be very seriously and strictly followed. Now, in the budget, there is no talk about Jadhav guidelines. There is only talk about increased allocation of funds for scheduled caste. If the Jadhav guidelines were actually followed in the letter and in the spirit, do you know how much the total amount of allocation for scheduled caste would have been? It would have been 94,000 crores, which means that what has happened is, but because of the delinking of the scheduled caste, because of the abolishment of the scheduled caste plan and delinking of earmarking funds for scheduled caste from their share in the population, scheduled caste are actually going to get 44,000 crore less than what they would have got had the Jadhav guidelines been faithfully implemented. And I said in the parliament that this is a curious case of finance ministry not following its own directive. And this was appreciated by a lot of people on the opposition side. And in the second half of the budget session, many leaders are going to raise this issue when the budget discussion comes up in the second half of the parliament session. You know, on August 23rd, 2016, the finance ministry had issued specific instructions to all the departments of the central government saying that Jadhav committee guidelines must be strictly followed. What has actually happened is that they have not been followed. As I was saying, had the Jadhav guidelines been fully and strictly followed, the total amount of funding that the scheduled caste would have got would have been 94,000 crore instead of 53,000 crores that has been provided for. This is a curious case of finance ministry not following its own directive. And this is something that is not acceptable at all. Well, friends, on a personal note, let me share something very intimate to me. I have only one daughter. Her name is Apurva and she stays in Washington, DC. She is actually a Dr. Apurva. She is a PhD doctor. She delivered twin babies, and that too mixed twins, a boy and a girl, on February 15th. And both my two grandchildren and one grandchild that I already have, all of them are keeping well. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.